UDisc came out with their annual growth report, which really will just highlight a few things. Number one, if you're a naysayer of disc golf, I'm sorry. Let me just sit down for a second.
Yeah, are you sitting down, Connor?
That's some bad
Am I a
news. For those
naysayer?
of you who hate
No,
disc
just a
golf,
Rick.
it's still
We
growing.
got to talk about that.
It's still growing. Yeah, the comments think you hate Rick. I don't know if you noticed that.
There was like a
was like-
narrative brewing that like people couldn't believe.
They couldn't believe how
the way
mean you
talk
were.
about Rick. And not like in a necessarily like.
That's because they must not understand then. They must not understand what it felt like to be rooting for Paul back in the day.
Did you see there was Ricky Stamp Big Z Lunas? They're selling them at
That's
Ricky's.
fast.
They're selling them
Gross.
at Ricky's shop in
Oh,
Arizona.
that's gross.
He was promoting them on his Instagram.
That's gross, man.
So disc golf courses worldwide increased by 1,165 courses in 2024. That's a healthy 3.2
That's more than one per
courses
state.
per day. Well, that's worldwide.
Oh, that's more than one per country. How many countries is there?
I don't know, man.
Probably more than
7.
that.
There are disc golf courses. Well, there's disc golf courses in 91 countries around the globe.
Oh,
So
Heck yeah.
that's a lot of countries.
that marks 5 years in a row where more than 1,000 courses have been installed in the ground.
That's great.
1,000.
And then let's
Holy
see.
disc golf.
This is an interesting one that more so doesn't really apply to us as players, but if you're going to pitch it to your local parks and rec, this is a good way. So disc golfers, this is according to a study conducted by 3 environmental economists, Kevin Meyer of Saginaw Valley, Jimena Gonzalez of Manhattan University, and Kenneth Liao of Farmingdale State College in New York City. They conducted this, and they discovered that disc golfers receive up to $70 in recreational benefits per round.
I never got $70.
So basically, it's saying it doesn't indicate players are willing to pay $70 green fees, but it means that if they pay $5 green fee, they're getting $65 of bonus enjoyment. Basically, it's saying like the study found that the average recreational benefit a disc golfer at these courses gets would be valued at $70 per trip.
How do you do that? Do they say
Probably based on like how you're feeling before and after,
here's
the
how I would
benefits it
conduct
provides
here's
you.
how I'd conduct that study. I would go to a golf course that costs $70 to play, and I'd interview the people afterwards. Be like, "How did you have fun?" I'd be like, "Yeah." And then I'd go to a disc golf for that course that was free, and I'd be like, "Hey, did you guys have fun?" "Yeah." $70 value. Like surely, I'm sure they did it in a more fancy way than that. But like, is that how we arrived at that number?
Yeah,
It's just
I
like
don't
you
know.
can get.
No, they definitely did more fancier than that. But
If I had to place my, no, go ahead.
so using the study's findings, it takes 429 rounds for disc golfers to realize a $30,000 in recreational value, which is
I'm a billionaire.
a figure that also it serves as a reasonable starting estimate for the cost of installing a new 18-hole course. So basically, what it's saying is like this is an easy way to pitch to your local parks and rec of like, hey, you only need 429 rounds for your your like taxpayers to
$30,000?
get value out of this $30,000 you're spending on
I
the
can
course.
tell you. I can tell you how many courses around here that had 30,000 poured into them to start them. 0.
New London probably.
$30,000.
They probably spent more than $30,000 on that New London, absolutely. If you factor in work hours, building the tee pads, the baskets alone are like 10. Those
the
tee
baskets
pads,
are 10.
probably close.
No, you can get 18 disc catchers for less than that.
No, they're almost $500 a piece.
No, but you get pricing on 18 baskets. I maybe I'm misremembering because
You also have the 3 more baskets. They got 21 baskets.
right. But how much is it to buy 18? I actually want to know now because I've looked it up because I sent it to someone not that long ago and I feel like it was cheaper than that. But maybe not. I don't know.
Well, not disc catchers. We're supposed to be looking at discraft.
But like,
Brad is whispering something to me. Hunter's right.
I'm right. You're right, Trev.
Ooh.
I just look it up. The only graphic that I've ever looked up to look at wholesale pricing is Innova's website always had like if you buy 18 baskets this much because I don't want you to multiply the cost of a single basket.
So it's $430 at retail.
Right, but like that doesn't
$470 for Chain Star Pro, which I think was actually out there.
Right, but that's not what they're going to charge you if you buy 18, surely. Let me find this Innova graphic that I'm referring to because this is the only thing I've ever known. So I need to like confirm if I'm just misremembering it. Innova basket.
Anyways, let's say that it's $300. You're still out a lot of money for
It's
that.
not. It's not an important argument
Before
at all.
you cut in the course, put in tee pads, cut in the pads.
Most
Cut down
definitely,
trees.
how much like logging and stuff you have to do is certainly
Tree
a
removal is
big part of
expensive.
it. Okay, this is what I had referenced. You can get 18 disc catcher pros for $6,700.
It's impressive. It's a good deal.
I mean, so yeah.
it's like $7,000. So you add 3 more, we're looking at $7,000ish. No, probably like $7,200.
Yeah, that's a really. Is that an amazing price? Maybe. It says you save on retail pricing almost $2,500.
So yeah,
if you buy 18, that's crazy.
Disc golf participation's also grown by 76% over the last 5 years. This is rounds played on UDisc, so it's a little bit of a skewed number because
they're really throwing in that last 5 years thing. We kind of want to know.
Well, you can see the actual numbers.
Yeah.
But there's a little bit of a skew here because some people were saying like, well, is this just a UDisc growth chart? But something important to notice is UDisc has raised their prices over the last 3 years. So if anything, I would say there's a lesser percentage of disc golfers using UDisc today than there were 3 years ago. Percentage of like active players that go out,
I don't know.
Not total users. I'm saying percentage of. Because I know a lot of people.
You can also use UDisc for free. You just don't get to keep your history past like 3 scorecards.
But I know a lot of people that don't use UDisc anymore because they now charge $30 a year, and they're like,
what
"Are you kidding me?"
Instead, Notes app, calculator.
Probably just writing it. There's up. You can just get like you can just get a golf scorecard.
That is true. People probably use that
golf app. But anyway, so the biggest jump obviously was 2019 to 2020. Rounds on UDisc was 3.8 million to 11.4 million.
That's remarkable.
That's the jump. Then from 2020 to 2021, it went up to 16.9 million. Then the only year it's ever went down was 2022, 16.3 million. Then it went up by almost 3.3 million to 18.6 in 2023, and then went up by 1.5 million in 2024.
I think there's something to be said in that like we had those 2 really big jump years, but we've still gone up over 3 million, in the years that would have been considering the stalling of disc golf. It's still been increasing.
Yeah.
By millions.
Well, and this kind of is what I've tried to say multiple times of people say that disc golf's like slipping and falling and they're like tournaments aren't filling, whatever. I stand by, and some people who are saying that just weren't in the sport in 2019, and I get that. But if you counted the amount of tournaments, I'd actually be really interested if the PDGA could release this number of the amount of tournaments that were ran in like 2018, 2019 compared to the amount of tournaments that are ran today.
Yeah.
It has to be close to 10x.
Yeah.
Maybe our local area is just not a good guide of everywhere else, but I've talked to people, and there's a lot of people that agree with me of like, and it makes sense because there was 3.8 million rounds on UDisc in 2019 compared to 20 million in 2024. Like,
it's staggering.
I think that, yes, compared to the growth we were feeling in 2019, 2021, 2020, like, sure, it slowed.
Yeah.
But it's like, guys, we're so far ahead of where we were.
And it's
crazy.
It's all about the player cycle, too, of like, you had a lot of players who were jumping right into tournaments, but then they might not want to spend as much money on them. And then you also had a lot of players who were just buying the discs for the first time. So they were addicted. And then 5 years later, they are more of a normal disc customer. So the economic reflection, when you have a sport like disc golf that doesn't require spending, like if this were the golf industry, it's pretty much a net. Like if I'm a golf club and my rounds increase, my revenue increases. Because forget the side effects of the range and the restaurant. The rounds just cost money. But when you're disc golf and it's an optional spend past the point of like $3 to buy a used disc, it is going to really fluctuate based on the economy and then also how many new players are in the sport. And does a really popular player switch manufacturer? It's all those external factors. It's never going to be as cut and dry as more players, more money. Yes, there is a correlation, but it can be there could be, like you said, in 2020, half as many rounds played in a year and more economic boom in disc golf because more of those people are spending money to the point where there's half as many rounds and that much more cash.
Yeah. Now, obviously, this is tracking rounds played. So you just wanted to make an interesting point here, which is the average number of rounds played per player on UDisc actually decreased by 1.
I was going to say, that was kind of going to be the interesting point.
So it actually went from 21 down to 20, but 100,000 more players logged rounds in 2024 than in 2023.
Yeah,
so there's 1.26 million players used UDisc in 2024.
That is a staggering number because we used to always wonder how many people are out there playing disc golf. I remember years and years ago, we'd be like, you think there's 1 million disc golfers out there? There's over 1 million using the UDisc app.
Yeah.
Which means, I don't know.
Probably 3 to 5 million.
Surely, right? Like, because there's so many people that probably just play casual would have never thought to keep score on a disc golf app.
My dad is like a casual disc golfer. Like, he'll play a few times a year.
Dude.
He would never download UDisc because why would you?
Guys, UDisc is They are moving.
UDisc is a wagon.
They are moving money around. They got
let's just say that
truckloads
let's
of money.
just say that
I pay
half of those
$30 for my yearly UDisc, which, to be fair, is not outrageous. It's a great service.
If half the people, and because again, it's an app, so it's not like there's every sale they make has a cost other than hosting the app. If half the people of the 1.26 million players using UDisc pay, probably more than half pay. But let's just say half pay. Let's just say half. That's
Release
18, That's $18 million a year in revenue that UDisc is bringing in. If only half pay.
Good for them.
Yeah, great
for them. A lot of dollars.
Well, because that's one thing is like sometimes you hear the revenue from disc golf places and you can be like, "Are you kidding me?"
They made this thing.
But UDisc, to me, I'm like, I kind of hope all 1.26 million people are using it and they get $30 million a year. Yeah, I want the guy who founded UDisc to be a billionaire.
Because UDisc is a very
it's
good
phenomenal.
It's phenomenal. Forget the scorekeeping, the map and course directory,
it's
and now
huge.
their league structure,
and now the social structure.
Yeah, they're. I've always said it, but they are like one of my favorite disc golf products because they've always been so professional and polished. It's like you can show anybody the UDisc app and be like, yeah, this is a great app no matter what industry you're in.
I can't really think of many situations where I've found myself frustrated with the UDisc app.
No.
And it was great when they had live too.
Yeah, I do miss that. Another interesting fact, 89% of disc golf courses are free to play.
89%. That adds up.
9-hole courses are still driving growth. New courses installed. Of the new courses installed, 703 were 9-hole courses, which I looked at the previous numbers, and that's pretty on trend. Yeah. Typically, 9 holes go in
Makes
first,
sense.
and then it
not a problem with that
sometimes transitions to 18 holes. 348 of the courses installed were 18 holes. 114 were other, because there are a lot of courses that for some reason want to put 20 holes in. We have 2 of them here. Well, now only 1.
Or maybe even like a 5-hole course around a property.
Weird.
Disc golfers spent 33 million hours on the course. They took 81 billion steps on the course.
That's awesome.
Norway added more than 100 courses again.
This
is the 4th year in a row the Nordic nations increased by triple digits.
If you have this much data, like that steps number was probably, it has to be the biggest number they could find, 81 billion, because they were like, okay, what's like the largest number we can put in this article? Well, steps they took, that's the most tracked thing
81
we could
billion
possibly
is crazy.
get. Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yeah, so they broke it down. They said that
I want to know what we shot over par for the year.
That's a fun one.
Oh, that
I don't know if they put that in there.
That would be great.
35 million miles walked on the course, which is 74 trips to the moon and back, or 1,300 round trip walks on the Great Wall of China.
Wow.
Or 166.7 million world record distance disc golf throws. That's a fun way to put it.